Well, 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 well. It would appear that the ratings for She-Hulk Attorney at Law have leaked in a form, and I don't know how to tell you this about everyone's favorite girl boss. It stinks! It's the worst performing Marvel show in history. And that's saying something. It's performing worse than Miss Marvel. It's performing garbagely. Is that a word? Maybe they need to do more twerking. I think they mean they need more twerk. No, that's not it. Oh, it's the men. Men, why aren't you watching the show? Don't you want to be lectured at about how toxic and terrible you are for 30 minutes? God, freaking men. Ooh. Men. Always being toxic. That's right, the show currently sitting at a paltry 39% on Rotten Tomatoes and a abysmal 5.1 on IMDb. Now look, they came out essentially and said, this show is not for you. Well, again, to my 3.6% and growing female audience, it is for you, but not for men. Unless you're like a self-hating man, and then it's for you. I suppose they say it's for all men because it gives us an opportunity to educate ourselves on how terrible we are, as if we don't actually get this type of messaging from all mainstream television. In fact, I've got a story later today about Disney's new Andor series. Boy, wow. How could they screw this up? Trailer looked awesome. Oh, men bad. Men bad. Men bad. We get it. You're middle-aged, middling attractive, and you're alone, and it's everybody else's fault but yours. We get it. Well, She-Hulk Attorney at Law premiere ratings failed to break in Nielsen's top 10, another failure for Victoria Alonso's business strategy. Data tracking company Nielsen released their viewership data for the week of August 15th to August 21st. And Marvel Studios' She-Hulk Attorney at Law is not in not a single one of their top 10 lists. She-Hulk premiered on August 18th and was beat by The Sandman, Stranger Things, Never Have I Ever, Lock and Key, Untold, Virgin River, League of Their Own. That's embarrassing. Echoes, Instant Dream Home on Nielsen's top 10 original streaming chart. Now, there's a lot of shows on TV, right? In fact, there's not a single show from Disney Plus on this list. We're going to get into that and how it compares to other Marvel shows too. As noted, She-Hulk's viewership was below 395 million minutes, which was 10th place Instant Dream Home's viewership. We don't know if it was 11th, but we do know that it didn't have even that. It's unclear if She-Hulk Attorney at Law is the worst performing Marvel Studios series on Disney Plus, given Miss Marvel's first episode made the charts back on the week ending June 12th with only 259 million minutes. So it was on the charts that particular week. It's possible She-Hulk Attorney at Law could have performed better than Miss Marvel, given we know that it was only viewed less than 395 million. Regardless, the show not making the charts is the first Marvel Studios show not to make the Nielsen's top 10 original chart. As noted above, Miss Marvel placed 10th when it debuted with 259 million minutes. Moon Knight, which debuted on March 30th, was 6th on the Nielsen chart with 420 million minutes viewed. Hawkeye's 2-episode premiere saw viewing hit 853 million. Loki had 731 million. When it premiered back in Falcon and Winter Soldier premiered with 495 million minutes viewed. And finally, WandaVision was viewed at 434 million when it premiered back in January. What's interesting about the Nielsen data is it calls into question other data analytics companies that claim She-Hulk did on par in its first 4 days streaming compared with other Marvel Studios shows like WandaVision, Loki, The Falcon and Winter Soldier, and Hawkeye. Samba TV reported that She-Hulk was watched by 1.5 million U.S. households, streaming in its first 4 days available on Disney+. That is comparable to WandaVision, which they claimed was watched by 1.6 million households 5 days after it premiered on Disney+. However, it does not match up with the fact that She-Hulk's viewership did not even hit 395 million minutes viewed, as reported by Nielsen, while WandaVision did have 434 million. Well, what it could be, quite frankly, is it could be that a bunch of 1.5 million people tuned in, but only tuned in for like a few minutes. That a bunch of people gave it a shot and turned it off early. That's how, I mean, that's the most reasonable explanation for the big disparity. Not only does Nielsen data call into question Samba TV's reporting, but also calls into question Marvel Studios' entire business model. Marvel Studios executive Victoria Alonso detailed that the business model during an appearance at the International Animation Film Festival back in 2021. While answering a question if she ever gets tired of Marvel Studios movies topping the box office charts, she said, "The reason we have that success consistently is because our audience is global. You cannot have a global audience and not somehow start to represent it. For us, it was really, really important to have that. For the longest time, we heard that women-led film will never open. I say, please check Captain Marvel, made a lot of money. Then they told us that Black Panther was never going to open, and nobody wanted a completely black cast, and that made 1.3 billion. I'm not sure who was saying nobody wanted a completely black cast, especially for a movie like Black Panther, but okay. So you can look at it from a social point of view, the cultural point of view, but truthfully, this is a business from a fiscal point of view. You're leaving money on the table by not representing." She then provided some numbers about Marvel's audience. Quote, "I think 51% of our audience is female." Bull roar. I don't believe that for a second. Source, I go to the movies and I look around. 28% of our audience is Hispanic. That's, I mean, that would be a huge overrepresentation, but I guess I can't say yes or no about that. I don't live in an area that is predominantly, that doesn't have a strong showing of Hispanic people. So, like, you know, I can't say from the movie. I can see men and women, though. She also concluded, "We can only tell stories if we succeed and would actually have money to make them. So the big idea being, if it makes money, then why not make it? Well, maybe it's garbage." And you see this, She-Hulk ratings in the gutter, first Marvel show not to make top 10. Oof. And honestly, like, you're going to see this show have very little rewatchability, and you're going to see last week may have been the worst episode to date. Now, they're going to try to bring in Daredevil to try and spice it up a little bit, and maybe that'll actually work. But, ooh, She-Hulk ratings lifted by a man. I don't know, they want that narrative out there. Now, if you look at, you know, a variety of, you know, you had, oh, you did have Bluey, one Disney Plus show, hitting the top 10. The first episode of Miss Marvel was only watched for 249 million minutes. The first episode of Moon Knight back in March was 418 million minutes. And honestly, I would say that both Miss Marvel and Moon Knight were probably equally underrepresented. They were both kind of like C-tier stories. So to have 420 million minutes on Moon Knight is surprising. I'm not saying it's good or bad, same with Miss Marvel. I'm just saying it's not Iron Man, right? The first two episodes of Hawkeye, 852, we talked about that. Marvel's flagship debut on Disney Plus, WandaVision, was watched for 434 million minutes. The news of She-Hulk ratings being bad fits with what Wall Street analysts and data analytic companies have said, that the Marvel brand is doing nothing for Disney Plus. Well, I don't know if I'd buy that. We could probably also guess that this is why shows like She-Hulk have such poor visual effects and writing. Obviously, Disney isn't giving the Marvel shows much of a budget. If Marvel isn't bringing in Disney Plus subscribers, why bother spending on them? I mean, that's fair, although I don't know if I buy that people don't subscribe for the Marvel content. I mean, all you really have on Disney Plus is old stuff and then, like, Star Wars crap. And if you're not a huge Star Wars fan, you don't care about the 5,076 Star Wars shows that they have. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure that that Marvel content brings people in. But I guess, I mean, if that's what Wall Street said, now this is cosmic book news, which is not exactly Wall Street tight reporting, you know? But it's interesting to see. Maybe that's why. Maybe we're going to see some like manufactured controversy coming up here in the next couple weeks to try to get people talking about the show. But like, again, another show that's just boring and dumb and doesn't need to exist. But I guess you could say that about a lot of shows. You could say that about Monsters Inside Me or all these other shows that people just leave the TV on and watch. But this is probably not good news for Marvel. Probably not good news when they were probably thinking that they were going to put She-Hulk in a movie. But I'd argue that Marvel doesn't really care if their characters suck or not. Miss Marvel was the least viewed show on Disney Plus until now that we know of. She's getting her own movie starring with next to Captain Marvel, which makes sense, by the way. I'm sure we're going to see the She-Hulk in the next film. I'm sure that's going to be awful too. So we'll have to see. What do you think? Think She-Hulk is as bad as a flop as they say? I'm thinking maybe yes. You let me know in the comment section down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.